Ladies and gents, welcome back to the show. The Fat Lads, Neil Pickup here with you. This is Supernatural Strength Channel. And, if you didn't catch part one of Colin the Man Bryce, that's the guy I've got sat opposite me right now. He's got a few years on the clock, but he's very sexy, I like to think, just like myself, ladies and gents. And we're in the middle of quite an interesting discussion. We're going to pick that up in a second. If you didn't see the first part, I'm going to put the link in the description, so go check that out. But Colin, let's get back to what we were talking about earlier, mate. Bobsleighing. You came out of bobsleigh. When did the sort of real hardcore commitment to strongman start? What was the sort of first seed of that?
Someone's calling me. My wife. I'm so sorry. Morning, darling. Love, I'm in the middle of a podcast. That's okay. My apologies. Is everything all right? Disasters? No. No. Okay. I'll see you in a bit. Love you. Sorry, I should have turned off. Sorry, mate.
You're all right. Bryce, ladies and gents, there. And
can you see it?
No.
Did Monica come up the screen?
No, she didn't pop up. But for those of you who don't know Mon, what a lovely girl. I mean, how the heck? You are pumped. I told you that.
Sorry, mate. Sorry,
like
everybody.
Rocky.
My weight. You kidding me? She's only like 60 kilo. I was going to crack a really on PC gag about work. Anyway, carry on.
So we were saying, mate, just when was the first time that you thought, you know what, here we go, I'm going into strongman in a big way? When did you get really pivotally involved? What was your first experience of being in the thick of it to that level?
I mean, obviously, I was lucky enough to go to World's Strongest Man first time in 1996 with the passing of Jim Pollock, my old pal, a few years now, 3 years maybe. I think I became the longest serving member of World's Strongest Man. So 96 to now is, I guess that gives me 25 years. And I was shoveling butter in a butter factory. And the guy who owned the factory, Dr. Douglas Edmonds, he was in charge. He was the referee. He was in charge of equipment, everything.
Yeah.
His son and I went out to help in Mauritius. And I was still at university. It was my summer job, shoveling butter. It was a good job. I won't put any butter shoveling down. But it was,
I never do, mate. As you can tell by my physique, I still shovel a bit of butter now.
Shovel a bit of butter in.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of that.
It was hellish. It was like the hottest summer ever in Scotland. It was about 1,000 degrees, and we were churning and I'll never eat butter again. I was sweating all over it. My job was to shovel it into this machine and do you want to go to Mauritius, the Ile de Maurice, and work on World's Strongest Man? You're a strong lad, Bryce. You do Highland Games. I said, yeah, bloody right, I do, yeah. Crikey. And I went out there and suddenly I realized how cool the world was.
Yeah.
How good it could be. Back then, there was lavish BBC budgets and there was sort of, it was like a Cecil B. DeMille movie with 10,000 extras, no kidding. Because they had to bust.
Was that Magnus Samuelsson's first event as well, Mauritius?
No, Maggie had definitely done Bahamas the year before.
Okay.
He did the famous arm wrestling.
That was the Bahamas. Okay.
Of Mega Man, Nathan. He's a lovely bloke, by the way. He came out there the second year looking super powered and strong. Mm-hmm. And it was really, Magnuson who, was the sort of superstar at that point in time. And I think you can just about see me in a couple of the old tapes in 96. I was the guy who fed the rope in the truck pull. That was my starring, like at the end of the credits, truck pull, rope feeder. That's Colin Bryce. I was also the guy who held up in the axe hold. I was axe holder too, was it brutal because it was all on the beach. Almost every event was on the beach, and we had no equipment to get stuff down to the beach. So Gregor and I we just loved it. We were like Roman slaves or Egyptian slaves, but building the pyramids, the two of us would be dragging
handballing stuff.
But just loved it. When you're like, I was he was 19, and I couldn't get enough of it. I could just whip me and get me out. And, it was great. And I mean, one of my favorite photos, even now, it's somewhere on the wall here, but it's Mega Man. In many ways, I think we took Mega Man down that year because, he's got a huge cut in his chin in the contest because he came down to the yard and we were down there in the yard. That's where the boneyard where all the equipment is. And Mega Man, oh yeah, all right, fellas, all 6'11" and a half of him. And we said, hey, Mega Man, it's so cool to be, we're Mega Man's mate. Hey, Mega Man, you all right? You want to come in? Yeah, thanks, fellas. And then I remember him going to the power stairs, and he attempted to do 2 power stairs at once. He was a total madman. I think I could do 2, and then he couldn't quite do it, but it wasn't far away. He was so wildly powerful. And then I said, watch this, Mega Man. And I picked up the first McGlashan stone, as it was then. It wasn't Atlas stones yet. And put it nearly to my shoulder, maybe. And he went, oh, yeah, I bet I can do that with the 5th. And I went, do it. Anyway, he took it up to there. And then he went, I think I can press it overhead. So he went, and he kind of smashed it into his chin on the way up. And if you ever watch the shows from 96 again, watch Mega Man's chin. It's all black. Oh. He almost knocked himself out. Just total lunacy the day before, but I don't know where this one's going. But yeah, I was sort of around it. I loved it. And then I kind of went on the hustle, big style, kind of 03. I was a commentator for Eurosport. By weird chance, I thought I'd given up the biggest shot of my life to be an accountant because I couldn't get into this TV company. And I got into them, but I was like the post room guy. I saw these fantastic girls and exotic lifestyle. I thought, give me some of that. I gotta get me to London and get in and become a TV producer. And when I turned up for an interview, they said, yeah, with your fine science degree from Glasgow, you can go into the post room. Great. Okay. So fine. I'll take it. I was, hey, everybody, hi, you want your post today? Over here. I gotta get out of here. And I finally got out to become a junior accountant on some, Football Mondial, I think it was, which was some, football series. The guy next to me happened to be, once a week, Oliver Reed's younger brother.
You can't write this stuff.
He was the commentator. Now, in 99, I saw the bobsleigh guys getting a bronze medal for 98. So I started doing a bit of bobsleigh. I was doing strongman. I just done Britain's Strongest Man final, but and actually, weirdly, there was this movie. I was my pad in Acton, and all these big heavies came down from Scotland. These wild-looking guys. Mm-hmm. Hey, well, stay in here. Who's tonight, Bryce? Okay, right. Yeah, well, it's not really a hoose. It's more of like a London, it's sort of like a bed sit with him, but you can also crash there if you want. Yeah, and all they came down, and we went out to Pinewood.
Okay.
For this, it's not a very well-known film, and I turned it down, but I was actually the driver, and then in the end, this sort of, small American, hey man, you look like a big guy. Why don't you try out too? And I chopped a few swords, and, we were practicing at being gladiators. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine the film. It was Gladiator. And all those guys who accepted it, and I didn't, went on and did 12 weeks, from Morocco to Malta, all this, remember, Gladiator.
Yeah.
The films of all time. But who was the head of the Gladiators? Do you remember? Oliver Reed.
God, he was, wasn't he? Wasn't it his last film? And he died, didn't he? Just that.
Do you know how he passed? And this might be wrong, and I know Simon still. In fact, he's a pal. After all these years, he was a great guy, his younger brother. I think, and if I've got this wrong, I apologise. Not that he's ever going to see this anyway, but I'll don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Tell it as how you remember, Bryce. They were arm wrestling in a bar in Malta, getting back while drunk, and he was arm wrestling a few sailors or something. That was it. I mean, the only way Ollie Reed could go out, arm wrestling in a bar.
Absolutely awesome.
And I just awesome. I remember him then. I could have been on it. We kind of had because that's when he lost his brother, but chatting away. Anyway, he got me into do some commentary. And at 03, and I was commentating the strongman shows. And if you listen to me, I sound like a right plum, those sort of 01, 02 kind of shows. And because you do them all live, you pick up and you got some guy from Paris, you're going in 10, 9, what? Okay. And you go out, even though it's not live, you go out live. Always. Hello, welcome. It's like, whoa, this is proper hardcore. There's no producers, no nothing. Anyway,
what great prep for Giants live shows that is.
But Super Series existed. Oh, great! I a little dig there.
No, because hey, let's be honest. If you can't carry the show when you're a Giants off the cuff, you are in trouble because it goes down. I mean, it's there. It is right, guys. There's your mic. 5 hours. Crack on.
If you go around mollycoddling people, then they could never survive in that environment.
And it's the most fun environment of all time. It's ace. We have such a laugh. It's absolute class. I love it.
Right, and of course, actually, a Giants live crowd is. I feel like so it's like the first time you ever do a best man speech. Anyone who's ever scared of doing a best man speech, trust me, everyone wants you to do really well. And even there, they're not like, okay, entertain us, funny man. They're like, go. And it's so easy it's just so nice. Somebody good, because they're fans of Strongman. There's happy some schmuck who's putting all this together. And then he's got his pal with a big voice chatting away next to him and Kaz, and they love it. I mean, it's wonderful. It's humbling actually to be around a lot of other Strongman fans like that. It's quite a weird feeling, You don't feel like a pervert anymore, kind of, Yeah, I like Strongman. How about you? Want to look at some Strongman pictures with me? But anyway, 03, I phoned up. 02, 03. I phoned up a guy called Ulf Benson who owned the Super Series. I got his number, and I thought their presenter was this sort of middle-aged guy who looked a bit kind of shabby. Mm-hmm. Not unlike myself these days. I'm waiting for a phone call from somebody after this. And I said, hey, hi, I'm Colin Bryce. I oozed over the phone. Hi, I think I'm bloody handsome, and you might have heard me on Eurosport commentating your shows, and I think you need a new presenter because of X, Y, and Z. And he went, really, Mr. Bryce? Well, I'm the presenter as well as the owner.
Ooh, talk about your old-time backfire.
Oh, he was so cool, Ulf. And he is still supposedly the most photographed front cover bodybuilding model in history. So
right.
He was just like Ivan Studnik. He lived in California, did the whole Arnold thing. But, he was a big businessman and lost 150 gyms across Europe. And, as you do, you're living in a suitcase, you tend to have a few bottles of wine behind that.
It happens.
Not dumb. Anyway, he went, listen, all right, Mr. Handsome, Mr. Cool, Mr. Whatever. You also think you could add to our shows and produce them, do you? All right, I'll tell you what, come out to my next show and I'll give you a shot. And he was so cool about it. Anyway, so I worked with him, took over kind of, I guess, running it for him. And that was it. We did Madison Square Garden together and that was the moment I felt I put my whole life into Madison Square Garden, 6 months in the making. And I think I owned 6%, something like that. You have no capital, no equity, no money as a young man, and all you've got is hard work. And I remember thinking, God, this is, I felt like, I hope Ulf doesn't take this the wrong way if he ever watches this, but I just thought this was all created by me. That's my little me mind anyway thought that. And there we were on CBS early morning news, and of course it wasn't all by me, but I felt like I'd taken it, grabbed it by the scruff of the neck, and okay, I was a pretty crap presenter, I still am, but terrible, even worse now probably. But I knew what I wanted Strongman to be like, and he gave me that writing pad, that blank canvas, that everything, because he gave me a shot, and must be eternally grateful to him for that. I must be eternally grateful. But we we fell out for different reasons. Always money, isn't it? Money's a horrible thing. but it's a necessity in life, especially when you're paying people. And I just remember thinking, right, I want to be in control of my own destiny. I stepped down away from that and started, Giants Live. So there we go. And then, the 07, 08 kind of crash happened as it was just about to launch, and not unlike now. I mean, thank God, I have no idea how many people are watching this at home who are people who've just embarked on a new business. And I'm we're going to ride this out. We're going to ride this out, not in style, not in anything, but we'll dribble our way through, and then, thank God, to any strongman fan who's out there who has put up with a postponement or anything. I love you. We can't kiss everyone. We can't kiss anyone anymore, can we? Well, coronavirus is a big problem. I've had coronavirus, by the way. I've had it. My whole family's had it. My brother-in-law is staying at the house, is still here from South America, and he went into hospital, which is the only reason I know why I have had it.
Thankfully, everybody okay?
Can I just tell you? Yeah, in the end, thank goodness. Can I just tell people one thing? This is the only common symptom in our household. Loss of the sense of smell. Mm-hmm. Don't believe the initial hype about coughs and stuff. It doesn't always happen, especially if you get it with a seasonal cold, because then you get runny noses and phlegmy coughs like my wife had. So people go, no, you haven't got coronavirus. Anyway, let's not go here or there. I've gone so far away from what you asked me. When did I think it was serious? I don't think I've ever not taken anything serious in my life. I think I've always been of the extreme preparation to try and look casual on the day. That's what I've always been like. I guess anyone who knows me would probably go, that's ridiculous. I've never seen a more disorganized man in my life. If you work with me on the shows, but it works for me. And what you want to get yourself in a zone of extreme preparation, and that's for anything in life, for what suits you and what you're trying to achieve. And no one had ever tried to achieve, really. I mean, strongman events live. In fact, the people they were saying, who I was speaking to, and big promoters, famous promoters, who I tried to take it to as well as an idea, were just, no, it can't work. Think about it. Think of the logistics. How can it ever work in front of a live crowd? Think about it. It works as a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon slow barbecue thing, as weights come trundling back, adjusting bits of kit. If you think of any strongman contest you've gone to that isn't something for a big live paying crowd, it's probably, if there was a big one that happened in Dubai not that long ago, and the first time they did it, they've done it twice now, neither of those have been over one day. They've not been one day, never mind one evening contest. Because it takes a hell of a lot of logistics. That's where you have to learn your trade enormously. And might I just say, I'm not slagging anyone off because they put on a great show, but it was a 9.5 hour show. You want to put bums on seats, you got to bang it out. Attempt to bang it out in my mind in 2.5 hours before the podium. And then you can just about, so when did I start taking it seriously? I don't know. All the time, Neil. All my life. I've always been an incredibly serious bloke about doing something, something magnificent. Probably like a lot of other young boys, you have a belief that you can do, you're somehow a bit special. You can do something. And actually, in reality, you wake up one day in your mid-40s and you're sitting in your garage office sweating. But you know what? I'm glad I chased my dreams. Anyone else I just hope there's a lot of people out there who aren't put off by starting whatever business or whatever. And if famous people or big stars in your own section say don't do it, don't believe them. Don't for 1 second believe them. How could strongman not be interesting? How can it not be sexy live? The circus was built on it. It was always a section. All you had to do was come up with a way of giving the guys enough rest. So up, down events. And create a format and a volume of people, and often have a biblical amount of staff to move SH1T quick. And then you've got something. You've then just got to build the characters up. And that's where you've got to be lucky. You can't whip up and invent a hero. Not in a real sport. And this isn't there's no kayfabe, there's no wrestling, there's no makeup, there's no pretend. You can't pretend to be 6'9.5" and 450 pounds or whatever Hapthor is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that guy was sent from God. He's even got a half a god's name. You know, I mean, he's Hafthor, Thor from Iceland. Here he is, folks, the biggest man in the world. I mean, it's like couldn't be easier to sell, and that's a fantastic thing. You know, the early days that we were trying to sell not very sellable people. It was difficult. You know, here is Bobby, whatever, from some mild, you know, Eastern European country who doesn't really speak English. Difficult. You know, things weren't gelling, but I got lucky. I had a few lucky ones. Eddie, do you know, the luckiest thing that probably ever happened was Darren Sadler came into my life. And the only reason he did is probably the one show I never did put on television. And that was Poland. You'll need to remind me, 2010. And my cameraman turned up to the airport. My deal fell through with the TV station in Poland when we got there. It was awful. It was awful. And this ridiculous, I don't know what he was on, but this hardcore DJ would not turn the volume down every time he went over. And they were all outdoors, and the whole crowd was, and even if I could have done, I had my own backup camera just in case. I couldn't do a single thing. And I think Sadler picked the shield up in the first event and dropped it on his toe. That was, he broke his toe. So I was just a disaster, the whole thing. Except we found Vytautas Lalas there.
Mm.
Oh, you know, even in a total crap situation.
Every cloud,
and boy, he's great. Lalas was like,
he's a magnificent athlete. He really, I mean, you talk about you and Darren. You're like this perfect storm of you bring chaos, he brings order, and yet when it comes together, you've got so many sparks, ideas, things that pop out, you know, and you bring that sort of invention and creativity. Darren then sort of aligns that, gets it on a path, keeps it on the rails, and you work together so well. I think that it's created something very unique and very special within Giants Live. And anybody that's been involved in the show, it's a great place to be. It's just a great atmosphere from the crowd through to the athletes, the whole thing. And when you do speak to the athletes, as I do obviously very regularly during the events before and after, and I'm going to pick up on something you said a moment ago in just a second, but when you do speak to the athletes, the appreciation of the difference that is provided to their sport is absolutely in their DNA. It's in their fibre now. Because a lot of these guys they've spent a large part of their introduction to the sport being on a leisure centre car park, on a pub car park, in a field somewhere, at a fete, doing this kind of stuff, and suddenly they find themselves coming out to pyrotechnics to 10,000, 12,000 people in an arena, night and day, and and even the Worlds. You know, so many times when we do the VIP Q&As at the Giants events, you speak to the top guys there and they say, well, this is so much more fun than the world's strongest man. Because it's professional and it's organised and we know when we're going to go on. And the environment, you're not open to the elements, and the list goes on and on and on. It's just transformed it massively, and you must be really proud of that, mate, to hear that come from the likes of Zydrunas Savickas, the old greats, Bill Kazmaier, Magnus Ver, Magnus Samuelsson the other week on here said the same thing. It's just a different environment, and that yourself and Darren are pivotal, responsible for that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I must first of all say, World's Strongest Man is, you know, I very much work with them and have worked for them for many 25 years, and it's a different bag. It's a different bag entirely. So just to sort of you know, you haven't been on site to one, have you? You've never seen. So
I've attended an event. I've not worked in the event.
Okay, so. Let's just be fair, because people often slag off World's Strongest Man. This is, you know, just to kind of get rid of this idea. World's Strongest Man was never and has never meant to be for the live crowd. sure, it's wonderful to have a live crowd there. And there was, I think in '96 we bussed in. I think it was like $1 a day or $2 a day to the local workers in Mauritius to have they came along, and actually it's one of the weirdest crowds ever, because there's like 700 or 800 people in the crowd, but not one person makes a single noise until the floor manager would go, with his headset on, clap, and then we go. And then they put their hands down. They just didn't get it. They didn't appreciate it while they were watching this. Who are these giant lunatics from the Northern Hemisphere? You know what I mean? This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's all looks slightly terrified. But, World's Strongest Man has always been, it's the Olympics of the sport. Never say never. World's Strongest Man has survived these many years for being the standout ultimate contest. To be fair, it used to be a little more lavish, but like everything in life, these things get cut back. The old 3 weeks on site, with a week off in between heats and finals, and everyone lying by the pool, dining away on lobster and whatever. That's what it felt like. Maybe it's just because I was a poor student, but now it's all a bit more crammed. But it actually suits the professional athletes more. It used to be, World's Strongest Man used to be, for a lot of fellas, their 2-week holiday per year.
Yeah, sure.
They worked some whatever, panel beating or construction worker, butter shoveler, as I was. You get your 2 weeks there, and 3 weeks even, and it was wonderful. And that was it. That's all people ate gun for. But, yes. So, I guess nowadays people are demanding a bit more money, of course, for one, and that's part of the fun of it, and I'm glad we've done that, and brought that up enormously. I think I figured out the other day that it's something like a couple of $1 million of prize money I've handed out now. It's not huge, but it's significant. It's significant.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind it under your bed.
Well, from me personally, just created and handed over. Never mind World's Strongest Man. So. Okay, it's taken me quite a lot of shows to do that. We're not heavyweight boxing, but I guess I don't see why we can't be, because who's the toughest comes right alongside who's the strongest, and it's just how you package it up. Yeah. I guess there was a few times that we've been offered. I've been offered. I actually did accept it at one point from one of the biggest events companies in the world, owns stadiums, everything. We did one show together, and it flopped. It was an terrible relationship. They didn't understand the sport. Do you know what? And for niche things like this, I mean, you think WWE wrestling isn't niche, but actually there's only ever been one guy who's run it for all these years. Yeah. And he's bloody good at it. And he was brought up in it. He died down in it. He knows what a crowd will be worked by. And I think there's a certain, you cannot just create a McDonald's of top end sport. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. You can't just come in as a giant unit and just, yes, you can build up excitement amongst hardcore fans, and I'm going to do the greatest ever prize money and this and that. And it can become very exciting, but they've done it in golf, the $1 million matchup between thingy and thingy. But then it just kind of goes away eventually, and the really magnificent events come through, and that's consistency. I'm boring myself. Boring. What am I banging on about? I have no idea what I'm banging on about now. I'm going to scratch myself with a screwdriver while we're here. Well, anyway.
But the professionalism in the sport is what I was getting at, really, mate. I mean, what I was getting at was I'm feeding back the comments of the athletes themselves, of which you were one, back in the day. And that's got to give you, when you hear someone like Zydrunas Savickas, someone like Magnus Ver, say that strongman now is evolved to a place that it's never been, that's got to give you a tremendous amount of pride. And without sort of, this isn't really targeting World's Strongest Man. I mean, we're all here because of World's Strongest Man, and we're all massive fans of World's Strongest Man, and it's still the Premier League of the sport. However, there is a real buzz and excitement, which is feeding into World's Strongest Man. It's benefiting World's Strongest Man in the long run. Giants Live was the forerunner of that. It was the first of them. Still, in my opinion, biased though I may be, is the best of them. And some of the shows and the drama that we've seen over the years of the Arena Tour is off the scale.
Well, sorry, let me chuck something to you. What? Oh, careful, Bryce. You're such a talker. You're going to answer it before you even say it. You want to answer it yourself. What's the greatest moment you've seen in sport? Let me start to make this safe, because you probably were like I don't know, Tyson versus something. In strongman, what's been the most enjoyable moment for you?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, the 500, without any question. The atmosphere during Eddie's 500 was immoral. It was absolutely nuts. The whole build up to that event, the magnitude of the event itself, the magnitude of the lift, the sort of fact that, I was literally standing 1.5 foot away from you when Eddie walked up to you at the Headingley and said, "What can you get if I pull 500?" And the whole story, advantageous position for me to see that play out as it did. The fact that we were sort of, in a meet and greet that afternoon, and guys like Zydrunas Savickas are asked by members of the crowd, "Can Eddie do the 500?" And Zydrunas, in his usual matter-of-fact way, I want to say, with all due respect to Eddie, no. And then he starts to go on about the fact that, you're getting to the point where you could be looking at catastrophic physical failures, injuries, massive injuries, things like that, Eddie's demeanour throughout the day, spending a lot of time with Eddie throughout the day. Eddie, when we were walking over to the venue, and he says, people think I'm joking, but tonight when I speed rep 465, then they'll start to take me seriously. Dude comes out, speed reps 465. And you get that sort of, whoa moment, and he goes, I go over to say, well done, he goes storming past, shoulder punch, and he's like, oh, it's on now. That whole atmosphere in that building, and when that man lifted the weight, the place went nuts. Mm. I mean, people say I've been in an arena when the ground itself has literally come alive under my feet and shook. I'm telling you, the reaction in that place was second to none. And I've been in some big sporting events.
You would put up against other sporting events for moments of grace?
Without question. Yeah. I've been at some of the biggest UFC fights in history, in really good spots, some of the biggest, most pivotal football matches in history. That was some event, mate. That reaction in that crowd was as loud and as intense and as passionate as I have ever encountered in my life. I'll remember that till they throw dirt on me, Colin.
It was wild, wasn't it?
Wasn't it?
I found myself down one of the corridors by the promoter's office about 10 minutes after that, and it was my pal Scott, who does the floor manager role, and he kind of went, "Brycey, what are you doing?" And I was sort of semi-drunk just on the whole atmosphere. I was just sort of sitting there like that. I just had to have a bit of silence. I was just sort of shaking away. Oh my goodness me, that was insane. And he went, "Brycey, do you realise the time? At 11 p.m, you get a £15,000 fine if this isn't finished." $20,000 for an American. And I was like,
reality check.
Reality, just pulled myself up off the floor and wait now. Brycey, get on with this. That world record. I was like, "What time is it?" He was like, and I was like 9 o'clock or something, 9:15, 9:20. I can't remember. We started at 6 p.m. What? We have 4 more events to go. And it was then, come on, whoever, Baritone, please get off the floor and go out and do the next event. Around the back, pleading with these guys. Come on, man, please, I beg you. Just, extra money, just get up and go out there. Because these guys were dead. It was carnage, bodies round the back, you know.
Yeah, literally.
After they 2 more events, we were hanging out. But it was quite something. Yeah, I guess
the funny thing about it, mate, as well,
Mm.
you say, I remember the conversations we had, myself, you, Darren, the rest of the guys on the crew, and it was sort of that, like, okay, you know, the next morning at breakfast, we all come down looking like, you know, we'd done 30 wobbly eggs and a bottle of whiskey. Nobody looked overly good. We come downstairs, and it's that, like you say, the reality check moment. Everybody's going, oh, the downside of this is, follow that. You know, what next? And then,
do you remember what happened to me?
You wind the clock forward, though, and you think of what's happened at some of these events. I mean, we've had some ridiculous moments. The Stoltman brothers with the Stone finale. That when they were, but that was another one. You got Bill Kazmaier crying.
Yeah.
You know, these are stupid. You can't manufacture that stuff. The Britain's Strongest Man finale that we've just seen with Bish and Tom Stoltman. Yeah. The lead up to that with Luke Stoltman coming out and doing his best ever stone run, taking the lead, giving his brother the biggest possible hand up he could. The fact that the crowd was so immersed in that moment and they got it, they were following it so closely. Then you come out, you have an unbelievable finale. Unbelievable finale. You got Tom breaks the all-time Castle Stones record in a ridiculous time. Again, place go nuts. Just what were we worried about?
Yeah, no, it's you know, well, when you're lucky, you know what though, the funny thing is once you really get into something, it's easy for us to say, you know, so if you're madly into soccer or football and you go and watch a 0-0 thriller between Liverpool and Man United, you know, people come out, what a great game that was. You think, if you're not a fan, you're thinking, really? That sounds like the dullest thing you could ever go to, you know, a 0-0 draw with what? You know, but I mean, obviously once you know the characters, and that's half of it. That's half the battle, I think, and that's where social media. I wasn't sure about it to begin with in many ways, but it's been the making of the sport, because the men. You think about it. How can you make stars of men when they're only seen once a year? Mm. They're seen at Christmas, rolled out as a freak for an hour or two, and that's it. And then, you know, wherever, you know, just disappear. So nowadays, it's the greatest thing ever. All this YouTube and stuff, you know, because the guys who have some of the biggest characters can build themselves. Yeah, it doesn't take old Bryce-With filming them and editing away on my back to try
the consumer has the opportunity to be selective in terms of the depth that they follow that character. You know, if I really like this guy, I can go and there's massive amount of information on him. There's massive amount, or her, you know, whoever your sports personality is that you want to follow. It's just there's just layer after layer after layer of this stuff out there now. It's just
it's just remarkable, because you do you remember the first really insulting comment someone said about you on the internet? I can still remember. I remember coming across my first really insulting one. And this guy was like, "What the hell happened to Bryce?" Obviously, I was maybe a bit prettier the year or two before. And the guy went, not only does he, you know, look like he's, you know, whatever, you know, totally, you know, buggered up and debauched, but also, I really never realized quite what a weird shaped head he had. I remember just like, oh, do I really deserve this? What's this all about? You know, nowadays, I really rather enjoy reading abuse. It's kind of, you know, if you bother to read it, you know, but it's funny, isn't it?
You get them. I mean, I've had plenty. But we have one guy in arm wrestling, and he's a lovely guy as well, exceptionally talented guy, a fella called Monster Michael Todd, unbelievable arm wrestler. Okay, but he can do no right. You know, used to be, ironically, back in the Eurosport days and so on, he was the most popular competitor, pulled very differently. He was very defensive. Suddenly, he changes his whole style. He becomes attacking. He uses a different move. He still defends in this particular move, though, the King's move. So he uses this move, and suddenly the world hates him. Okay? And he also beat Steven Larratt, who's the most popular arm wrestler probably in the world. So he beats Steven Larratt, and he beats him with the King's move. The world hates him. And the level
what's the King's move? You can't just chuck that in there. What is the King's move?
Basically, you pronate very hard, and you lie back and straighten your arm, and it's almost like a joint lock. Okay?
Pronate.
Yeah, you're turning out like this, pronating, falling back away from the table, a lot of back pressure, a lot of pronation, and it's almost like a joint lock at the bit, and it's not aesthetically pleasing in any way, but the level of hate that guy gets, talk about unjustifiable. The other day he's on a show, right, and I post the show, and there's people coming in, and one of the comments just says, I'll not repeat what it says, but it goes on about Michael personally. He said, even his interior decor shit.
Really?
And start saying, what the f*** is he thinking about with the colour of that gym? And it's like a green colour. And they start smashing him. And I was seeing myself laughing, mate. Me and Michael were on there. I was crying. They would just, it doesn't matter what he does. He could be the nicest guy in the world, and he's getting it now, They're just going to give it him. Oh, mate, the amount of...
Travis Mason must have been on the receiving end of some of that. I first saw him, I just thought he was magnificent. A bit like Eddie, he was so cocky, and it was great. Instant anti-hero,
There's, it's funny, these guys, you talked about the WWE wrestling. And similar journey for some of these guys. 1 minute they're the heel, the next minute they're the hero. They swing up and down in and out of public consciousness and public favour. And we're going to draw a conclusion to this second part at that, because it segues beautifully into where we start the next part, when we're talking about sort of the moments and bringing it a little bit up to the present day and some of the rivalry that's out there. And I think you'll know where I'm going with this one. So, ladies and gents, it could be something to do with Thor and Eddie Hall. But we'll get and world records and alike. But anyway, ladies and gents, if you do like what we do, please make sure you like, you share, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you back here again for part 3 with Colin Bryce very soon. Till that time, guys, say peace.